When dealing with the world's most dangerous technology, we build layer after layer of software redundancies. But the ultimate failsafe is the human brain. On September 26, 1983, Soviet warning systems screamed that American nuclear missiles were incoming. The man on duty, Stanislav Petrov, had seconds to act. Instead of following protocol and firing back, he paused, analyzed the data, and deduced the alarms were a satellite error. His cognitive clarity stopped a nuclear war. Compare that to Air India Express Flight 812 in 2010. The captain had been sleeping during the flight and woke up disoriented. Experiencing heavy sleep inertia and cognitive confusion, he ignored his co-pilot's repeated warnings to abort the landing. The plane overshot the runway, resulting in a fatal crash that killed 158 people. Or look at a 2015 surgery in the UK. A 70-year-old veteran doctor refused training on a new Da Vinci surgical robot, claiming his 4 decades of experience were enough. His inability to adapt his thinking and process new protocols on the fly caused catastrophic errors, and his patient bled to death. When the mental processors of pilots, surgeons, and military commanders falter, the physical systems we rely on for survival collapse right along with them. Curious, concerned, we used to think of this kind of cognitive failure as a distant problem, but right now, the modern environment is degrading our hardware at an alarming rate, causing some 30-year-olds to operate with the cognitive capacity of a 60-year-old. Doctors refer to this as early-onset cognitive decline, a rapid, unchecked erosion of the modern memory. To figure out how this is happening, we first have to run a diagnostic on how a healthy brain physically manufactures a memory. Every memory starts with raw data. Information from your eyes and ears travels via nerves to a central verification hub in the brain, which acts as a filter to confirm the incoming data is actually real. Once verified, the signal hits the hippocampus. Think of this as your brain's file manager. It decides if this new data should be stored permanently. It prioritizes information tagged with a heavy emotional weight, like a sudden jolt of fear or a burst of anger, locking those critical survival lessons into long-term storage. But you also remember things that have no emotion attached, like your phone password or how to ride a bike. When you repeat an action over and over, the brain coats those specific neural pathways in a protective protein called myelin. It physically paves a dirt road into a high-speed highway, creating rapid automatic recall. A healthy memory isn't an abstract concept floating in the ether. It is a highly protected physical biological circuit built for instant retrieval. Now let's look at what breaks broke circuits. The first physical glitch is something called amyloid plaques. This is essentially biological mud that builds up outside your neurons, severing the communication pathways so messages can't get through. The second glitch happens on the inside. Proteins called tau, which normally act as straight structural support pillars inside the neurons, start to get tangled up. The internal scaffolding collapses and the cell simply dies. This biological destruction is rapidly accelerating due to our modern environment. Look at the skyrocketing rates of diabetes. Having it increases your risk for Alzheimer's by over 50%, to the point where doctors often unofficially refer to Alzheimer's as type 3 diabetes of the brain. Then there is our chronic sleep deprivation. Your brain only runs its cellular cleanup system during deep sleep. Cut that short and the trash piles up. Combine that with modern stress flooding the system with cortisol, and you are actively corroding the hippocampus, the exact file manager we need to store memories. We also have to factor in the air we breathe every day. High concentrations of particulate pollution, known as PM 2.5, easily travel from the lungs into the bloodstream and straight into the brain, triggering severe inflammation and creating a highly toxic environment for neural survival. Our modern lifestyle is systematically dismantling our physical neural infrastructure, well beyond the simple exhaustion we feel at the end of the day. With all our medical advancements, it seems logical that we should have a pill to patch this cognitive decline by now. The reason we don't goes back to a massive scientific scandal from 2006. A foundational Alzheimer's research paper, written by a scientist named Sylvain Lesné, identified a specific toxic protein as the root cause of the disease. This paper guided global scientific research for 16 years, until investigators realized the lab data in the paper had been fraudulently altered. For over a decade, pharmaceutical companies and major government health organizations wasted billions of dollars in taxpayer money chasing a completely fake target, developing drugs that had no chance of working. The pharmaceutical safety net we assumed was being woven is an illusion. We cannot rely on a magic pill to save our declining memory. Without a medical bailout, preservation is the only cure. That requires strict daily mechanical maintenance, 7 to 8 hours of high-quality sleep to run the brain's natural cleanup system, regular aerobic exercise to keep blood flowing, and a gut-healthy diet to support neural function. We also need human connection. People living in severe isolation experience a massive 40% statistical increase in their risk of developing cognitive diseases. Treat these protocols as mandatory maintenance for your internal hardware. Without them, the system eventually crashes. Because this decline is accelerating, society needs to implement mandatory cognitive testing for high-risk professions. We cannot afford hidden cognitive glitches in the people operating commercial flights or heavy machinery. We already require pilots and operators to pass vision and reflex tests to keep their licenses. Expanding nose evaluations to verify cognitive health and memory retention is the exact same concept. In a world designed to degrade our minds, defending your cognitive health has become a critical responsibility to everyone around you.